Howdy, folks. It's Megan Barnhart coming at you live from Write with Megan. And today I'm going to be talking about what to do when writing on a schedule is not your jam, when that doesn't fit what you need. So maybe you've been trying to write on a schedule, or maybe you haven't started writing yet because you feel like, hey, I can't do it until I have this time blocked out. I need to have it on my schedule. I need to have it regular. And there's a disconnect. You are really working hard to try to make your writing happen, and it's not happening. So let's talk about what you can do to start making your writing happen. I am going to get us shared in the Write with Megan Facebook group. This is a place where you can come hang out with other writers, no matter, or even if you don't consider yourself a writer. You know, it's interesting. Some of us are like, oh, no, I'm not a writer. But if you have to do any writing, let me put it that way, coming out with us in the Write with Megan Facebook group. It's a supportive, safe place where you can hang out with other writers and get the momentum you need to write for your business, to write the book you're writing, whatever you're working on. If you're watching live, jump in and say hello. Let me know if you can see me and hear me, and let me know what you're working on writing and how you feel about writing on a schedule. Do you write on a schedule? Does it work? Do you like it? Is it not working? Are you trying to write on a schedule and it is just not happening and you need some support? Let's talk it out. Hey, Lori. Hey, Carmen. Hey, Sarah. Good to see you all. Hey, Patty. Good to see you. So this question came up for some folks in the Write with Megan Facebook group who were talking about writing schedules, but this has been coming up a lot for me personally. So I want to start just by sharing with you some of what's happening for me in my business around time and scheduling, because maybe you'll relate to it. Hey, Ingrid. Oh, awesome. Okay, I'm hearing people sharing some about their schedules. So I have a particularly busy spring. I'm doing a lot of different things, and I'm really struggling with scheduling. I'm really struggling to get things done in the time I want to get them done. I'm getting them all done, but sometimes I'm finding myself at my computer till 11 o'clock at night to get the things that fell through the cracks. And so I'm like, how can I make this more effective and more efficient? And I had this insight on Tuesday. And there was this task that I kept putting on my to-do list. And I was like, oh, I got to do this. I got to do this. And I wasn't getting it done. And I realized it was because I didn't have a clear enough intention. It's like, oh, I didn't say how much I wanted to get done or what I wanted to accomplish. So let me just check in. Does anybody else have that experience where you put something on your to-do list, you put writing on your to-do list, but it's pretty open-ended? You're like, work on such and such project. Anybody do this? And then you go to tackle that on your to-do list and it doesn't happen. Sometimes the things that are ill-defined are the things our brain rejects. Like, I don't want to work on that because I don't know what you mean. So I switched things up. And for this task in particular, I said, all right, I know I'm going to work on it. And what I'm going to do is just set a timer for 15 minutes. And whatever I get done on that project in those 15 minutes, awesome. Because this is something that just by the nature of it needs to be done every day. It's not like I could take one big chunk and do it. It's kind of in responding in real time. So I was like, I'm just going to take 15 minutes, and what I get done in that time, I get done. And then I'll like be able to check it off from my list. I spent my 15 minutes today, and then I'll do it again tomorrow. And it brought me this huge relief. So that's a really long way of saying, if you're struggling with even just getting started on a task, because the task is a little bit amorphous and maybe it's a really big task, or maybe you have something like I do where you need to be responding to people in real time, try going by the time instead of by the project. This is something that can make a really nice switch for you. Like, I'm going to just tackle this in these increments. It might be 15 minutes, maybe 25 minutes, it might be an hour. Totally depends on you, the project, and how much else you've got going on in your life. But that was one really powerful insight and switch that happened for me this week. So I wanted to throw that out there. Let's see what folks are saying. Ingrid says, I have a loose schedule, but I do binge writing and write 5 days a week. Ooh, very cool. So Ingrid, I'd love to hear more. Excuse me. Do you schedule that writing time, or does it just happen when it happens and you let it flow? Sarah says, I try and write every day and I don't. Sarah, I had another insight recently, and I wonder if this would resonate with you. It might not. I do in my business a lot of different kinds of writing. Sometimes I am writing things for clients, like I'm writing up material for their website, or I'm writing blog posts for people. Sometimes I'm writing for my own business. I'm writing blog posts or newsletters, or I'm writing content for my website. Sometimes I'm writing because I'm trying to hash out an idea. And then sometimes I'm writing because I'm working on a book, or I'm making a course or material. And what I found is that I was tending to discount certain kinds of writing. I was like, yeah, but that newsletter that I worked on, that doesn't count. Or brainstorming doesn't count. Or writing for a client doesn't count as writing. Like, says who? So Sarah, this might not apply to you because I do a lot of writing for my business and for my work. And my work is writing for other people a lot of the time. But is it possible that you're doing more writing than you think you are? Because, and I mentioned this in another video, and this was something that my dear friend Anna pointed out to me. If you are looking to be a writer as your identity, as your profession, or even if you're just looking to strengthen your writing skills, everything you write helps you improve your skill. So even when I'm working on writing, thoughtful emails to people, I'm working on writing, but it just might not register to me. So I actually added a section to my bullet journal. I bullet journal, and for my monthly spread, I create the things that I want to be doing daily. Am I drinking 70 ounces of water a day? No, I keep forgetting to drink water. So I'm like, did I do my yoga for today? Did I do, all the things that I want to do? And I put write on there. And if I've written anything during the day, I get to check that off. And I find that's changing how I'm relating to writing. And instead of feeling like, oh, I haven't been writing, like here it is April, and I haven't made any progress on the book that I started planning at the beginning of the year. Nope, no progress has been made on that. And so, yeah, there are specific writing projects I want to be doing. But as to the question, am I writing? Am I practicing my craft? Am I building my skill? Yeah. So again, I'm not sure if that would apply for you, Sarah, but just something to consider. Am I giving myself credit for doing writing, even if it's not the kind of writing I thought I would be doing? Okay, I have to tell you this tangent story because for me, this is a perfect illustration. All right, back in September, I went to an event called Succulent Palooza. My friend Jeanette told me about this awesome event. We went and bought all these succulents and took cuttings and got pumpkins and put moss on top of the pumpkins, and then put the succulent cuttings down. I made these like really beautiful arrangements, a couple different kinds of pumpkins. And then when the pumpkins were kind of like going south, I took one of the little mini pumpkins and I got lazy and I just planted the whole thing in a plant with soil, or in a, what's it called? A pot with soil. And I was like, the succulents will grow. They'll even have food. Okay, so I keep walking by the succulents now, and they're looking really bad. They're looking really sketched. They're looking really, really like not happy. I was like, oh, I guess that didn't work. That was an idea I had. That was a bad idea. And then I looked more closely and I realized the succulents are like raised up. They're not touching the soil. I was like, what is going on? There are little pumpkin sprouts shooting up from the soil, holding up the moss that's left over and the succulents. And the pumpkin is growing. I'm growing a pumpkin, you guys. So I had this moment of clarity where, you've heard this expression, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. So this moment of clarity, like, I am growing something. It's just not the thing I intended to grow. Oh, how often does that happen with our writing, right? I am writing, I am improving my skill, I am working on something, but maybe it's not what I thought I was going to work on. Okay, just had to throw that out there. Carmen says, I try to write at least 4 days a week, but some weeks it gets thrown off course. LOL. I love how you put the LOL there. It happens. Your stuff's going to get thrown off course. And so the question is, how can you get back on course? And sometimes the question is, do I keep getting thrown off course? And maybe do I keep getting thrown off course on the same days or in the same ways? Is there a pattern there for me to spot? Sometimes it's just like, oh man, life happened and it was unexpected, and it was my friend's birthday and we went out and that was important to do. Um, or I had a really, hectic work day and I had to fit more stuff in. But sometimes getting thrown off is a pattern. And then we go, okay, wait, that means my system isn't working. Does that make sense? So that's a good question to check in. Was this really just a one-off? Or is it like, man, every week I end up not getting to this? Okay. Yes, Lori, please come visit me. Bring your planners. Magic me up. Hey, Rachel, good to see you all. Hey, Holly. Okay, so Holly says, the closest problem I have is writing a novel. I no longer have the attention span, apparently. Ooh, say more about that. How is that showing up for you, Holly? What's making you say you no longer have the attention span? I'd love to hear more. Okay. Carmen says, I seriously think this is how I need to think when it comes to revising my book. Oh, good. Yeah. So, these, when you notice certain approaches or thought patterns that work or don't work, you want to take them and apply them to all the parts of your writing process. Okay. So Ingrid's saying, dictating, I can crank out 5,000 words an hour, not necessarily quality stuff, but it helps. And one hint regarding dictating is that you read something out loud for 10 minutes, sort of like free writing to warm up. I tend to write most or best at 10 a.m. To the early afternoon. Oh, I love that. So before dictating, a way to warm up and get yourself comfortable just spewing out all the words is to read something. That's so cool. I have never heard that before, Ingrid. I love that. Yeah, and knowing your writing time. So let's talk about that, because this is, a conversation about schedule. So some of us come at writing, we're like, I'm going to have a schedule and these are going to be the hours I'm going to write and this is what it will look like. Maybe that's working for you. Awesome. High five. Maybe it's not working for you. So maybe you go, okay, what does a schedule that's not really a schedule look like? Maybe it looks like knowing writing in the morning is best, but you're not able to sit down at the same time every day. So if you put on your schedule, like 8 a.m. to noon is my writing time, you're like not sticking with that. Or, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. is my writing time, and you're not sticking to that. But if you have that operating principle, okay, writing in the morning is better for me, then you can just kind of on a day-by-day basis go like, what do I have in the morning? And can I even just give it 15 minutes? Or, can I give it half an hour? Can I do 25 minutes and do one Pomodoro? So knowing those times might help you go somewhere between a schedule and like a complete chaotic free-for-all. It's not locked in, but it's going to be sometime in the morning. Okay. Good. And more other warm-ups. Yeah, finding ways to warm up for writing, really powerful. Okay, Rachel says, I write the best in the morning or really late at night. After lunch and afternoon, not so much. Yeah, I feel you on that. I have a hard time writing anytime but morning, with an exception that I will tell you about. Oh, okay. Rachel says, ironically, though, afternoons are my only time to do personal writing. Mornings and evenings, I write and edit blogs for work. Oh yeah, I feel you on that. Okay, so I'm gonna like throw this in here now because I think that's appropriate. Rachel, I was having exactly the same thing occur where I kept having on my calendar and on my to-do list that there was some writing I need to do. Now it's writing technically for work, but it's like really, you got to go deep writing. Like I'm redoing some pages on my website and telling my story. And this is like really deep. I need a lot of lead up to it. I need to just be in the right space in my head. And I can't come right out off of doing writing for a client or right off of returning a bunch of emails or right off of a meeting and get into that writing space. So this new coffee shop opened near me and I went to check it out and I was like, oh, I really like the vibe here. This is a really cool spot. For anybody local in my area, it's Tribe on Grand. But I was like, this place just makes me feel good. So then what I started doing is on the weekends, taking my laptop and going there with the intention of doing my writing. And it was in the afternoon, which is normally not a great writing time for me, but I made it this treat. It's like, I'm going to get a pot of tea. I'm going to get a cookie or, some kind of treat. And I get to sit and go do this writing that otherwise I'm not having time for. And it completely shifted how I was relating to writing in the afternoon. So normally that's when I would be really fatigued. I would not have my best ideas and I wouldn't have good follow through. But I made it this treat. And then also I'm like, well, I'm kind of like paying for my time in this seat, right? Because I'm the kind of person where like I'll order something else even if I'm not hungry or thirsty, because I feel like I'm renting that seat. So it's like, I'm kind of paying for my time here, so I better make the most of it. I just recently did Gretchen Rubin's, like took her little quiz, the 4 tendencies. I don't know if anybody's done that, and found out that I'm an obliger. And that means that like what motivates me and what helps me get things done is I have to like have external accountability of some kind. So I'm like, oh, I have to, I paid money. I'm externally accountable. So that was helpful, but also just making it someplace out of my normal writing space, fun place, somewhere I like to be. Then I was able to work on that. And the thought of like, I'm doing work on the weekend sounds terrible, but I promise you, it didn't feel terrible. It didn't feel like I had to work. It was like, I get to go to Tribe Coffee Shop and I get to go work on my writing and drink out of a turquoise mug. Yeah, it takes very little to get me excited, mostly turquoise. Okay. Let's see, I'm looking for some more comments. So I know there are certain days I won't write pretty much every week, so I plan for those. Okay, good. But sometimes random things pop up that I don't plan for. Excellent. So Carmen, that's so great to pay attention to, and that just happens, right? You get the, oh crap, this happened kind of things. Ooh, Dave says, when you can't write on the page, write in your head. I fixed and figured out a lot of plots without writing a stroke. Nice. And Ingrid, somebody else was talking about dictation earlier, and of course you can always just like talk into a voice recorder as well. I've been doing that fairly regularly as well, and noticing that it's like unlocking a lot of thoughts, unblocking a lot of thoughts. Okay, thanks. So Holly's giving more information about, it feels like there's not enough focus to write a novel. I try to write and I can't focus on novel writing. I can write a script and get it done, a whole story or a pilot in a matter of days. So I focus on what I can finish. Making matters worse, script writing doesn't require the same polished format as novel writing. Oh, okay. Well, that actually might be a really key insight. If you're getting this opportunity to practice one form of writing and you're really honing your skill there, sometimes it's hard to make the switch back. Now that I've been blogging for a while, I would be afraid to even attempt like an academic essay because my brain is like in short paragraphs and conversational tone. So it might be that you have to like get back into novel writing by practicing those particular skills. And it might be that there's a time and a season for it. I just feel like so many changes happen in our brains, even day to day, that it doesn't pay to say like, oh, I'll never be able to do this skill again, because things will change and then they'll change back. Oh yeah, good question. Rachel is asking, Dave, how do you keep from forgetting those ideas? I've tried doing that before, but won't remember the idea later when I have time to work on it. So Dave, what are your strategies? Okay, and he's saying, I jot down a lot of notes and keywords and bits and pieces. I have a lot of books written on paperbacks. I love it. And also, Rachel, consider having your phone handy, or just there's so many ways to record yourself now. So consider grabbing a piece of technology to do that. But sometimes just one keyword will spark the thought. Okay. Okay, so Holly's saying, I have 0 chance of selling a script. If I write a novel, I could self-publish it. That's a really clear motivation, and it might, this might suck a little bit, but here's an option. It might be that you can write the novel and it's just not going to flow as easily as the script writing. But if you're really clear that that's what you want to do, then you can make it happen. If you give yourself the space, so if you keep showing up expecting it's going to be as easy or as it's going to flow as well as your scripts, that's probably going to suck a lot, because it sounds like that's not how it is. But think about how you would be if you were teaching a beginner something. Like you're the piano instructor and you're like the little kid who shows up and can barely find middle C, and the patience you would have with somebody who's not you, who's like having a hard time getting through something. See if you can extend some of that patience to yourself. And also just make sure you're using good drafting principles, I would say. And even questions like, have you done enough planning, is not being able to sustain the focus because you're not sure where you're going, or you do know where you're going. If you do know where you're going, then make sure you're using good drafting principles and letting it be really rough, letting it be really ugly. Ooh, I love Ingrid's suggestion for you, Holly. Ingrid is saying, why not write a script and then write the novel around it? Okay. Oh, okay. And you tried translating, that's what didn't work. Awesome. So try it a different way. Don't go from the script. I get this thing sometimes where if I've written too detailed an outline, I'm really unmotivated to write the actual draft, because there's a part of me that thinks like, I already did it. So, maybe that's coming up for you. If you've already written the script, it's like, I already did it. I don't want to do all the work of putting it into a novel. Maybe you need a brand new idea. Okay, so now how about some practical tips? This is a skill that somebody shared with me on a meeting just this morning, so I want to pass it along. Let me see if I can hunt down the link to it. It is scheduled journaling. Has anybody done this, heard about this? Okay, so I'm going to share with you, this is a medium. No, this is from Better Humans. Okay. But I found it amazingly insightful. It brought up a lot of stuff for me, so I'm sharing in the link. Okay, so this was a little article that somebody shared with me, and it's instructing you how to, instead of just having a to-do list, track your time. And what was so key for me was that you say what it will take to start the task. So he gives an example in the article of like, okay, now I'm gonna, so here's from the example from the article. Now I'm switching over to writing an article. What's my next action? Ooh, powerful question, right? Because if you don't know the answer, then it's gonna make starting the next thing really hard. And he answers himself, he says, oh, just open Medium. Okay. The article is going to flow easily once I get the intro down. Now, I love that statement that this author is making. This is written by Coach Tony. I love that statement he's making, because maybe that's true. Maybe that's how his experience is, or maybe that's him priming himself to make it easy. Like, I don't know, but that's a great suggestion to give to yourself. Like, I'm so good at this. It's so easy. Okay. And then he gives himself like a little bit of a warning too, right? He's like, I should steel myself for having to rewrite that intro a few dozen times. So he's going in knowing that there's going to be this one thing that, could potentially be discouraging, but is not. And that's all just like one little note before he starts. And I was trying this morning with some things I'm working on. And I had a client starting at, this time, and I was like, oh, I can get this email done ahead of time. But as I went to write, I'm going to start this email, immediately what came up was, I'm worried I'm not going to finish before I need to work with my client. And I was like, oh, well, that would mean that I'm kind of in this panicked mode where I'm not going to be thinking clearly. And as soon as I wrote out, I'm worried I'm not going to finish, the panic just kind of like went down. And sure enough, I wrote the email in plenty of time. But I just discovered this. I'm finding it super helpful. So that's not about a schedule. You can use this task journaling thing just throughout your day. If you know the things you want to get done, try it out. See if it works for you. Because keeping to a schedule for some people will be incredibly empowering. And I know I've been here, there, and all over the place in this, but I want to just bring a little bit coherence to it. If you have been trying to force yourself to use a writing schedule and it's not working, that's fine. It might be that using a schedule for writing is not for you. It might also be that using a schedule is for you, but you haven't found the right schedule yet. But think of like a flow chart. It's like, are you using a schedule? Yes. Is it working? No. Okay. Were you exceptionally busy this week? Yes. Okay. That might be it. Or like, Are you trying to do more things than it's possible to do? So you kind of have to think through that idea of a schedule first and go, if it's not working for me right now, are there some things that could make it work? Maybe reducing the number of tasks, switching around the time. We had people on this chat talking about how they need to write in the morning, or you need to write at a certain time of day. So can you switch things around? When you go to start that part of your, when you go to work from your schedule and do that thing, do you know exactly what you need to work on? So there are a lot of questions you can use to troubleshoot your schedule, right? So you got like, I'm writing on a schedule, it's working. I'm trying to write on a schedule, it's not working, and I'm troubleshooting my schedule. And then there's this whole other category of a writing schedule does not work for me. And maybe that means I need to write when I have the energy. Maybe you are dealing with something in your life where you don't have enough energy. And this is something that happens for anybody who's dealing with a chronic physical or mental condition or situation. Like it's not fair, but you might just have like this much energy and you want this much energy to be able to work on your writing projects. And you have to just be loving to yourself about that. Don't beat yourself up for not having the energy that you want to have this magnificent schedule. Like, oh, I want to be one of those writers who writes for 5 hours a day. Maybe that is not possible. Maybe, you have an illness. Maybe you have children. Maybe you have a really demanding job. Maybe you are so active helping your friends and family or your community that that's not going to happen. So, let it go. Let it be what it is. And there are, just some of us for whom a schedule feels really stifling. And maybe you've tried to create that writing schedule for yourself. And the more you try to tell yourself when to sit down and write, the less you want to sit down and write. Okay. So find yourself. Where are you in this spread? Yes, the schedule is working right now, but I need to tweak it. Man, my schedule's not working, but I think I can troubleshoot it, move stuff around, change my expectations, clarify my tasks, and it would work. Or hell no, schedule ain't working, and I'm going to do something different. And what I would recommend are, give yourself time increments and a check box. Maybe you find bullet journaling helpful, but it's like every day I want to shoot for this many minutes of writing, and then you get to check it off when you do it. Or try this scheduling journal where before you, it's a way of tracking your time, but also before you get into any new task, you're setting yourself up for success by getting clear on the task, reminding yourself like what you need to watch out for, and doing a little bit of positive suggestion. Okay. Ingrid says, Neil Gaiman talks about how he has 2 rules when he is in front of a computer or doing it longhand, which is how he does his first draft. He has to be either writing or not writing. He does not do distractions. I love it. I had a really powerful experience about that by, making it really clear. Like if I'm, there's so many things you could do if you write on a computer. There's so many things you could have open. There's so many different places you could be. And like actually standing up and walking away from the computer when I'm not working was a really great way for me to see, oh yeah, this is time I'm not working. So because I had that thought, if I'm at my computer, I'm working. Nope. So getting really clear. I love that. And Ingrid is saying word goals help. Oh yeah. So instead of a time goal, you could say, I want to meet this word goal. And then again, it doesn't matter when you do it. It doesn't matter if you had the same, time blocked out every day of the week. You're like, if I hit this word goal, I did it. Maybe I was writing at 2 a.m. because I couldn't sleep. Or maybe I was, yelling really loud as I was in the shower or dictating as I was driving. And I got the words down. All right. So overall, if you have been struggling with the schedule, it's okay. There are solutions, and it might mean you need to tweak the schedule, and it might mean a schedule is not for you. So let's keep this conversation going over in the Write with Megan Facebook group. If you're not already there hanging out with us, just do a search in groups for Write with Megan, Facebook group search for Write with Megan. Come on and join us over there. And if you're watching this as replay, please add in your question. If you're watching on YouTube, where this will be later, or it is now, because now it's the future. Whoa. Leave a comment. Let me know how you work with writing schedules, what works for you, what doesn't, and what questions you have. All right. Thanks so much for joining me, everybody. It's always a joy to connect with you. And I wish you a fabulous day and very happy writing, whether or not you're doing it on a schedule. All right, take care.